investigation by the Enforcement Directorate in the money laundering case against Partha Chatterjee, ex-Mantri of the TMC. And big scoop that Times Now is picking up. 3 more diaries have now been recovered. They've been found from Arpita's home. So this is big breaking news coming in with regards to the ongoing investigation that 3 diaries have been recovered from the residence of Arpita Mukherjee's Tollygunge flat. This happened on the first day of the raid. Sources say these 3 diaries were separate from the black diary. So this is in exclusion to the black diary that was also recovered earlier on, that had 40 pages, remember. So a black diary plus 3 more diaries that have been recovered so far by the probe agency. Sources also suggesting at least in one of these diaries they found some transactional details as well. Let me quickly go across to Tanushree joining us with more details. Tanushree, 3 more diaries apart from the black diary, mounting evidence against Partha Chatterjee, but these recoveries being made from Arpita's flat once again. What do these diaries reveal? Tanushree.
Well, yes, you see, on the first day, 3 diaries were recovered. One was black diary, one was pocket diary, and there was another diary. What we are getting to know from the ED sources is that there are names, there are transaction details in these diaries, and the ED is looking into these names, because if you see, these diaries not only say that money came in. According to ED sources, these diaries show a complete transactions of money coming in and money going out. Now, how much money went out, who were the persons, the names of the persons, their number, and the amount is mentioned in those diaries. The Enforcement Directorate is also saying that these diaries were handwritten. So exactly according to ED sources, what we are getting to know is that they would be bringing in an handwriting expert to find out whose handwriting it is, because as we know, Arpita Mukherjee has categorically claimed that she has no knowledge of the transactions. She just knew that the money was being kept, and Partha Chatterjee, on the other hand, according to ED sources, is not cooperating and saying that it is not his money. So what we are getting to know from the Enforcement Directorate sources is that these diaries, the black diary, the pocket diary, and another diary, they are playing a very crucial role in the investigation, because from there they would be getting to know who are the handlers of the money, who were the persons who came into the Talleguange flat, took the money out, how much money was being taken out, and who were these money being given to. Because if they find the persons who had taken these money out from the Talleguange flat, then they could link it to the person who the money was being given to. So the link is to be found. Now we are getting to know that handwriting experts are being brought in, and also that exactly how much amount is being taken out, that has been mentioned in the diary. Now we know that Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee, they would be produced in court tomorrow, and today they have been taken down for medicals as per the court orders. But once they return, again the questioning will begin, the interrogation will begin, and certainly with handwriting experts coming in, what the ED source is saying are that they would be taking handwriting samples of Arpita, Partha Mukherjee. They would be matching it with the handwriting in the diaries. If it is not Partha Chatterjee's or Arpita Mukherjee's, then who is this third person who used to maintain the diary? That also becomes a very crucial point. So these diaries are playing a very crucial role in the investigation of the SSC scam. Back to studio.
Tanushree, if you could also tell us if the Enforcement Directorate has any material to corroborate the diary entries, because as we've seen with at least 2 Supreme Court precedents, one is in the Jain Hawala case and one in the Sahara Birla Diaries case, initials mentioned in diaries do not necessarily constitute as being of evidentiary value. So therefore, what is the Enforcement Directorate's corroborative evidence to substantiate what they've discovered in these diary entries?
Well, certainly, if you see, one thing that the Enforcement Directorate, what we are getting to know from our sources, is saying that the amount of money that is mentioned in the diary, the amount of cash that has been found in the flats, they are trying to link everything together. Also, they are trying to link the phone calls. They are trying to find out regarding the phone details, if any, during those timings, any calls were received, who were the persons. They are looking into the CCTV visuals of the flats. If you know that the Enforcement Directorate, after we had broken the story that 4 of Arpita's cars are missing, where according to ED sources, they suspect huge amounts of cash were there. So the CCTV visuals are also being looked into in the Talleguange flat, in the Belgaria flat. So certainly they are going to try to link all these together, the CCTV visuals, the phone networking, and also the diary. If the diary, it is found to be in the handwriting of Arpita Mukherjee or Partha Chatterjee, then certainly that would be a very big plus point for the Enforcement Directorate, because as you see, both have maintained that the money is not theirs. So the blame game is on both sides. Partha Chatterjee says it is not his money, it has not been found in his residence, whereas Arpita Mukherjee has categorically stated that the money belongs to Partha Chatterjee. So certainly the handwriting part would also help, but also they are trying to find out who these persons are, who had taken out the money or who had brought in the money. If those persons can be tracked down, then certainly their statements would also help in trying to find out who had given them the money. Was it Partha Chatterjee who had handed over the money to them, or was it Arpita Mukherjee who had handed over the money to him? And who had they reached the money to? Who was the person whom the money had gone to? So this link the investigation agency is trying to find now. Back to studio.
Okay, Tanushree, now if we join the dots of the evidence that the Enforcement Directorate has so far unearthed, you know, we've seen several luxury cars that the Enforcement Directorate is looking at carefully. They're also trying to, seize some of those cars, because I believe one has been identified so far, one has been seized. They're looking out for 2 other cars. Those cars have also played a crucial role, apparently, as per sources in the Enforcement Directorate, to bring in and take out the cash from some of those flats belonging to Arpita Mukherjee. Given that evidence and given what has been so far found out in these diaries, including the 3 names, the 3 women and their names that surfaced in the black diary itself, if we join the dots, how many players are we really talking about as far as this big scam goes?
Well, as for ED sources, there are multiple players, and that is why the Enforcement Directorate is looking into this case intensively, because it just not stops at Partha Mukherjee or his close aides, be it Arpita Mukherjee or the other close aides whose names are surfacing. But there are several players, and it is multiple players, because the money just did not come from one place. It had come from all over Bengal. That is what the ED sources are saying. There are properties spread all over Bengal, and also the money was going to several people. There are several businessmen, there are several leaders, there are several people in the school commission. So there is this is a huge scam. That is what the Enforcement Directorate is saying, and therefore if you see, they are quickly looking into the matter. It is going on, the investigation is in high speed, because they do not want any evidence to be destroyed, because there are certain players who might not have been under the scanner till now. So therefore, so that evidences do not get destroyed, we see that, you know, each and every day from one or the other district, there are allegations coming in Calcutta High Court that this individual had taken money in the name of Partha.
Right. Let me just interrupt you there, Tanushree, because we're getting a reaction from the BJP. Shehzad Poonawalla is joining us on the broadcast. Good morning to you, Shehzad. Now, of course, there have been discoveries of certain diaries now recovered from one of the premises allegedly belonging to Arpita Mukherjee. But as you would know, Shehzad, diaries in and of themselves do not constitute evidence, as the Jain Hawala case, or for that matter, the 2016 Sahara Birla diaries case also says. So there has to be some corroborative information. What's your take on what's been unearthed so far?
No, I'm not making any comment on the evidentiary value of any evidence that has been found. But having said that, all that we see is that there is mountains of coincidence, or perhaps tons and mountains of corruption that has taken place under the TMC government. And that is being proved day in and day out. You had on your channel shown the sale deeds which had the names of Partha and Arpita. You had shown the admit cards that were found. You had shown the piles of cash in which West Bengal Education Ministry envelopes were found. And now we are also seeing how Arpita was part and parcel of the TMC infrastructure. She was on the platforms of the TMC. Pictures and videos of that have been put out. So clearly this scam has the links of TMC all over. It has the footprints of TMC all over. And I would say it's a scam of the TMC, by the TMC, for the TMC. And therefore, just by sacking one Partha, Mamata Banerjee can't cut her losses. The fact of the matter is that this entire scam was perpetrated either through her ignorance or through her indulgence. It is an institutionalization of corruption that has taken place, and it couldn't have taken place without her knowledge. So surely the answers have to be given by Mamata Banerjee ji. She should also answer that why did she not take action on Mr. Adhikari, whose daughter's appointment was cancelled. So, this half-hearted action on Partha does no benefit for her, because we all know that this scam was off by and for the TMC, and that's what this perhaps this diary is also showing.
Okay, so you're saying that the buck doesn't stop at either Arpita Mukherjee or Partha Chatterjee, and this goes much beyond what meets the eye at the moment. But Shehzad, if we talk about what the TMC has been saying so far, and since you've taken out and put out questions in front of the TMC once again, the TMC has been saying, look, we've taken whatever action we could take against Partha Chatterjee. Now we want to wait for the investigations to reveal the whole truth.
No, she can't make a virtue out of a necessity. The fact is that the Calcutta High Court Division Bench had ordered CBI probes. At that point of time, Mamata Banerjee on a public platform on another channel had said that the judiciary acts under pressure. She has made this statement. Amit Malviya has also tweeted it, where she said that the judiciary acted under the pressure of the BJP. So clearly, she has no respect for rule of law or for the judiciary. She was forced to take action because there was overwhelming evidence that was poured out on the television screens and which was picked up by the BJP as an opposition party and raised in the public platform.
Right,
She was
Shehzad.
forced to take action.
Many thanks for that response. So let me go across immediately to Tamal Saha as well, who's joining us on the broadcast. Tamal, more revelations now, more discoveries by the Enforcement Directorate by way of the recovery of these diaries, allegedly from one of Arpita Mukherjee's properties. Of course, the clincher would be if the Enforcement Directorate is able to corroborate these diary entries with a trail of transactions.
Well, Siddhant, yes, I did hear your question as what kind of an evidence value will these pages, and if you go by sources, the kind of evidences that that Enforcement Directorate officials have found from the diaries, will they be considered as evidence or will have the evidence value or not? The fact of the matter is, it also points a finger toward a pattern. Now, what has been the pattern? Pattern number one, it shows that people used to take money to the Talleguange flat. That's number one. Number two, just not receiving the money. There had been proper transactions. Money at times have also left the flat, which means there had been a proper accounting of money being received or money going out of the flat. Somebody has done the job of the accounting of the entire money. That's one. So when Arpita Mukherjee says that it was my property, no denying about it, and the money was there in one row, but I had no knowledge about it, there is a larger question. If she did not have knowledge about the money, who was keeping an account of this transaction? Money coming in, money going out. That's the reason ED officials on day one said they have been using these properties like a mini bank, quote unquote. Point number two, there had been an absolute method in this entire process and a madness, if you can say. Now, people bringing in the money, their details have been mentioned in diaries, if you go by sources, in names in forms of initials. That's one. Second of all, people taking the money out. There is a pattern. Follow it. People taking the money out, their names too are written in initials, but their phone numbers, which I mentioned strategically, are most of the times incomplete. The Enforcement Directorate sources are saying they are trying to follow a pattern in which the money had been received or brought to the apartment and the way the money has left. Receiving the money has a specific pattern of initials of names and complete phone number, wherein money being taken out of the apartment, ED sources are saying had a different pattern, where most of the phone numbers were incomplete. Was it
there are multiple properties that are being looked at. Remember, we've also been breaking down details of how there are as many as 10 flats owned by Partha Chatterjee in posh localities. That's also something that the Enforcement Directorate is looking at. Stay on with us, Tamal. Let's quickly take a look at one of the reports filed from outside the Eshe Entertainment, which is also owned by Partha Chatterjee's aide, Arpita Mukherjee. And why this is important is because some of the production activities were also witnessed here. So how is it that this adds up to the kind of evidence that has already been unearthed by the Enforcement Directorate? This report tells you more.
We're here at 95 Rajdanga Main Road in Kolkata, which is the registered office of Eshe Entertainment Private Limited. Eshe Entertainment Private Limited is significant because Arpita Mukherjee as well as Kalyan Dhar are the directors of this particular company. Now, if I can ask my video journalist to pan and show you the length and vastness of this property, the building which starts from here, what you're seeing on your screen at this point, is the building where the production activities of Eshe Entertainment used to take place. They used to shoot serials. They used to have their office here, and they used to use these two particular buildings in your frame at this point. This building here, as well as this building next to it, used to be used as an office as well as for production activities. Now this particular red building is also a part of this property. This, we are given to understand, was used for weddings and other celebratory activities and functions. Now beyond that, we can see another building which is under construction, and this also, we're given to learn, is a part of the properties owned by Ichhe Entertainment. Is that this building, this entire property, will be sealed very soon. When that will be, that depends on the Enforcement Directorate. We spoke to the guards inside, who of course were not willing to even come to the gate because the ED has ordered them to stay here and ensure that this place is not left vacant till such time.
Right, we're getting live shots right now of Arpita Mukherjee, who is, of course, been in the custody of the Enforcement Directorate. That's her stepping out of her vehicle. And she's, of course, being surrounded by security personnel as well as officials belonging to the Enforcement Directorate. And, of course, we'll keep continuing monitoring the story very closely from the ground in Kolkata. Mukherjee being in fact taken to court for hearings to be conducted about the extension of custody on the part of the Enforcement Directorate into this particular matter. And those are visuals of Partha Chatterjee as well. We'll slip into a short break. We'll come back to the story in just a short while from now. Stay tuned.